Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. I thank the Most High for having the ability to be able to stand before you again today and talk about the things that are not trivial, not things that we believe in, but things that we what? Things that we know to be true. I say Shabbat Shalom to all of you that are here with us here in our studio audience. For those of you that are joining by way of stream on our studio audience. Those of you that are joining us around the world, because not only are we here in the United States, we are in Africa, we are in Pakistan, we are in Europe, we are in different places around the world where the Most High's word is going out and being taught. I say Shabbat Shalom to all of you. I say Shabbat Shalom to all of our, again, as part of one of my little anecdotal things that I say, to all our enemies, because Israel does have enemies. Don't think that they don't. Yes, we do. Don't think that they don't. A little hot. Turn me down. Don't think that they're not. They think that we don't have individuals that are out to seek our destruction. We're going to learn about some more of those today. Your head teacher said something very interesting that I've been toying with all week. Is kind of this thing that the Most High gave me as I was leaving one of my runs, because I'm an avid runner and an avid faster. And he said, what did he lead with? He said, this is a beautiful day, right? So I said, you know what? How often do we roll out of the bed, we look at our phone, and we say, what's the weather going to be like today, right? What's the weather going to be like? So you go and you ask Siri, or you ask Alexa, or you ask Susan, or you ask whatever her name is in your phone. And you say, what's the weather going to be like? Or you go look at the Weather Channel, and it tells you it's going to be, about 80 degrees today. But do you honestly believe that? You know what you have to do? You have to walk outside and you have to experience the weather for yourself. Okay? It's just like the allegory that I'm getting to draw with being Hebraic. You just can't simply read what's on the page. You just can't read that it's 80 degrees. You have to have the ability to walk within the mitzvot, to have experiential knowledge, to feel what it feels like to be Hebraic, to understand. That's what we call experiential knowledge, where you get what? Wisdom and understanding from. So I admonish all of you today. Thank you for being here. Let's get right into Shoftim, chapter 5 and 6 is where our Hebrew study is going to be today. I kind of want to draw some clarification on Shoftim, and because Shoftim stands for judges. And obviously we've been talking about some of the judges that have come before in chapter number 3 and chapter number 4. Again, we started out, let's get up to speed on where we are. We had those 2 transitional chapters, chapters 1 and 2, coming out of the book of Yahushua. And then we get into really what we start learning about our judges. And if you will, there are certain groups of people that are within the confines of the book of Judges. I want to classify those. Those are actual judges. Sister Harless, I'm going to need you to follow me. I'm going to go to Devarim, chapter number 16, verse 18. It's not on the sheet, so I apologize. There are certain classifications of individuals that are in the book of Judges. There are the judges themselves. There are what I would classify as rescuers or saviors, okay, that are also listed in the book of Judges. There are the Malach, which are the angels who come and talk to the children of Israel. And then there are also the prophet that shows up in the book of Judges as well. Now, not all of the individuals that show up in the book of Judges are actually judges. Some of the more famous ones are kind of rescuers, where the Most High has called upon this individual and they've rescued the children of Israel. The text is very emphatic to say whether or not a person is a rescuer and a judge, or they're just a judge, okay? So let's read let's kind of get back up to speed what a judge actually is, what they're supposed to do. And actually in Devarim chapter number 16, I should have brought my phone up here. Chapter number 16, and I need to. Give me a second. Let's read what it is, what the mitzvot is, because we are supposed to do what? Teach the mitzvot? There's a mitzvot about the judges. It says, you are to appoint judges and officers for all your gates in cities. Yahweh, your El, is giving you. Tribe by tribe, they are to judge the people with righteousness, with righteous judgment. They are not to distort justice or show what? Favoritism. They're supposed to be impartial. And you are not to accept a bribe, for the gifts blind the eyes of the wise and twist the words of even the upright. Justice, only justice, must be pursued, so that you will live and inherit what? The land Yahweh, your El, is giving you. Let's go to Devarim chapter number 25, verse 1. So we kind of got an idea what these judges are supposed to be doing. All right? There is a couple of famous judges that we've talked about already. We've talked about Ontiel. Ontiel is related to whom? Who is his uncle? Comes from the tribe of Yehuda. Come on, Caleb. Caleb is his uncle. We see in the first and second chapters of Shoftim where Ontiel actually comes up. And we see this pattern throughout all the individuals that are mentioned in the book of Judges. They are military leaders. They are not afraid to fight. There is this no turn the other cheek attitude in the book of Judges. Okay? Now, verse 25, or chapter number 25, verse 1 in the book of Devarim, which is the book of Deuteronomy, says, if people have a dispute, seek a resolution in court, and the who? Judges render a decision in favor of the righteous one and condemning the wicked one. Then the wicked ones deserve to be flogged. If the wicked ones deserve to be flogged, then the judge is to have them lie down and be flogged in his presence. The number of strokes is to be what? 40. 40 as a max. Says the number of strokes is to be proportioned to his offense, but the maximum number is 40. He is not to exceed this. If he goes over this limit and beats him more than this, your brother will be humiliated before your eyes. Okay? So there's two different mitzvot I want to bring up about the judges themselves. We want to also continue to keep tying the mitzvot back into what we're talking about, okay? So I want to make that distinction as we move forward, that there are several categories of individuals: rescuers, saviors, judges, prophets, and then we also have the malach, which is the Hebrew word for angels. Okay? We're going to see maybe all three of those categories today. Let's get into our overview real quick. Shoftim, chapter 5, is a song. It is a song of victory for Devorah, who is classified as a judge. She sends her Barak is called, and she sends Barak to fight whom? Yavin, the king Yavin, the Canaanite. And he fights them, he wins, and there's a song of victory. There's also another person that's along with that. I don't want you to forget about her. Her name is Yael. As anybody can remember from the last time we talked what Yael did, she's cold-blooded. Yael is the one that put the tent peg through the commander of Yavin's army, which was Sisera. He came in tired and parched and wanted some water. She said, no, I'm going to give you some milk. Gave him some milk. He laid down, put the blanket over top of him. She got on her knee and put that tent peg right through his head. Now, but chapter 5 is all about that song of victory for Devorah and Barak, what they actually did and won. I'm actually going to go somewhere here quick. Okay. Chapter number 6 talks about the following: the oppression of Midian. The children of Israel are being oppressed now by their third kingdom that comes against them. The first kingdom that came against them was Moab. The second kingdom that came against them was the Canaanite. The third kingdom that's come against them thus far, we've gotten all the way up to chapters 5 and 6, is going to be the Midianites. They're going to oppress them. We see, I say, the judge Gideon in this particular chapter. We see the introduction of Gideon. Does everybody know about the story of Gideon? You know about the story of Gideon? All right. Gideon, the mighty, valiant warrior for Israel. He's caught. Well, I don't want to give it away. This individual is interesting. Gideon's commission, we'll see him get commissioned. We also see the first sign to confirm Gideon's commission. Gideon doesn't necessarily believe what's being told to him. So he's asking for, actually that's 2 and 3. Signs 2 and 3 is where he asks for his sign. But the confirmation is something that we're going to see that comes up later on in another famous judge who had long dreadlocks. Shh. Long dreadlocks. You didn't know one of your judges had dreads? Oh, who said that? Samson. Samson had dreads. He had locks in his hair. That's what they came. They came off and cut off all. So I'm giving my thunder away when I get to chapter 13 and 14. But he's a famous judge. All right? He kind of shares this same prowess as Gideon does, because they're kind of, I call them judges, but they're more like rescuers. Now we also see Gideon is told to destroy his father's idol. And in the latter part of chapter number 6, we see the signs 2 and 3 to confirm Gideon's commission. And that has to do with some fleece that got put on the floor. I think we can all remember that from back in the day. For those of us that remember Sunday school, you remember about this story coming up about the fleece being on the floor. And I'm asking for you, look at these blank stares coming from all these young people. What in the world? A fleece being on the floor? Come on now. All right. I'm going to do a plug real quick before I get into chapter number 5. Let's jump right into it, because I did tell you that chapter number 5 is an entire song. Okay? Now, as I'm looking at this song, matter of fact, let's pull up chapter number 5. All right? Let's pull up chapter number 5. Now, chapter number 5 of Shoftim. How many of you have been in choir rehearsal? Choir rehearsal. You've been in choir rehearsal. You've been in choir rehearsal at school, or you've been in choir rehearsal at the proverbial church, or you've been in choir rehearsal at some other choral, whatever you've been going to. All right? So we're going to start at verse number 2, and we're going to sing this in unison, okay? Ready? All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Wow. Wow. And y'all was singing it like you used to do back in the old school church. There's a point that I want to make with that, okay? You are Hebrews in exile. You do not know how to sing your own songs. You've lost that in your exile. That should hit home for a second. There's things about our culture we don't even know about. We've gotten so far away from the Most High that we can't even sing the songs the way that they're supposed to be sang. There are several songs that are in text that we know about, right? Right after we came through the sea, Miriam got on that rock. She got up there and started with that tambourine on her leg. She started singing songs of praise. Look at the Egyptians. They're all drowned in the sea. How does that song go? You don't know anything about that song, do you? Or at least how it goes. Mighty, mighty, mighty. And look at this. Songs that are actually in Scripture. We've got the one that I just mentioned, Shemot, chapter 15, verses 1 through 21, talks about that particular song. We have a song in Bad Midbar, 21, 17 through 20, that talks about when the children of Israel were transversing through the desert and they were getting ready to go right into Og and Heshbon and Shechon. The Most High brought them to a well, and they sang a song of praise at that particular well. We have there's a song in Yahashua that when something stood still in the sky, they sang a song about it. We have this song of victory in chapter number 5 with Barak and Deborah, which is a duet, by the way. And then we have other songs that are in there as far as 2 Samuel as well. I just wanted to point those out because, again, there are songs that we don't even know about. And I'm going to do a aimless plug because it's a poor dog that doesn't wag its own, tail. Okay, very good. You've been keeping up for the last couple of years with us. All right. One of the things that we try to do here at FTF is wherever talents that we have, we try to get that information out. All right. The song that is up here is very different from the way that we sing songs today, right? We sing songs that has an ABA format. Does everybody know what I'm talking about? I'm going to explain that to you. If you're not a musician, it's a form. That means that the A side might be the verse. The B side might be the chorus. And then you have things like bridges. And you have things like vamps that are called with their different portions in the song. We sang several songs today. And several portions of those songs do what? Starts with an R. Repeats. Okay? Now, I'm going to do an aimless plug. We got a book out that was written in conjunction with two individuals who are cold-blooded, might I say. I was the amanuensis on this book. It's called the Hebrew. Does anybody know what amanuensis is? An amanuensis is a person who, you come to me and you say, I want something transcribed or I want something, my music, I don't know how to, well, not necessarily know how to get it out, but I want you to hear what I'm playing, write it down, and transcribe it and put it in a form that can be read. That's what an amanuensis does. Okay? So I was the amanuensis for this young man over here, this 30-year-old man over here. Young. Don't just receive it. Just receive it. Just receive it. The form that's in this book follows a particular form. It repeats. You go through a section and it repeats. You go through the chorus, then it repeats, so on and so forth. We don't have that. One of the things that I was thinking about when I was looking at this, that I said, you know what? In our Hebrew songs, we don't necessarily have repeats. They go from start to finish. It's like poetry that's being written. Okay? It tells a story. It goes to show you how far we've gotten as far as, and I'm going to speak about urban music. You rappers, you R&B artists, you sit there and you make these songs that talk about subject matter that means nothing, that doesn't teach anything. The subject matter is dog water. It's trash. It doesn't put the culture forward any shape, form, or fashion. And that is the form that we've gravitated towards today. I just want to draw that parallel for you so you can understand we've gotten far removed from our culture. and the way that we've expressed ourselves in gratitude to the Most High. I was going to read verse or chapter number 5 in its totality, or maybe you guys want to read it. It's just a song. It's just a song. Let's read the song. Let's read it. All right. For your hearing and edification. This is when Deborah tells Barak, go down there, take out Sisera, the commander of Yavin's army. They win. Yael puts the tent peg in his head, and they come back, and this is the song of praise that they sing. Let's begin. When the leaders of Israel dedicated themselves and the people volunteered, you should all bless whom? Yahweh. Hear, kings, listen, princes, I will sing to Yahweh. I will sing praise to Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel. Yahweh, when he went out from Seir, when you marched out from the field of Edom, the earth quaked and the sky shook. Yes, the clouds poured down torrents. The mountains melted at the presence of Yahweh. At where? Sinai. We're going a little further back. We're going further back, right? We're gonna ramp up to this victory. The mountains melted at the presence of Yahweh at Sinai, before Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel, in the days of Shamgar. Who can remember Shamgar? Shamgar was a rescuer. I talked about him last time. Remember that ox node? The little piece that has the hook, that has a spear on it? He killed 600 Philistines with that ox goad. Okay? That's Shamgar. That's what we're talking about. 6, in the days of Shamgar, the son of Anat, in the days of Yael. Who is she? She's the one that put the tent peg through Sisera's temple. All right? It says, in the days of Shamgar, the son of Anat, in the days of Yael, the main roads were deserted. Travelers walked on the byways. The rulers ceased in Israel, and the rulers ceased in Israel. They ceased until you arose, Deborah, arose a mother of Yisrael. Then they chose new Elohims when war was at their gates. Was there a shield or spear to be seen among Israel's 40,000 men? My heart goes out to Israel's leaders and those among the people who volunteer. All of you, bless Yahweh. You who ride on white donkeys, sitting on soft saddle blankets and walking on the road, talk about it. Louder than the sound of archers at the watering holes will they sound as they retell the righteous acts of Yahweh and the righteous acts of his rulers of Israel. Then Yahweh's people marched down to the gates. Awake, awake, Deborah, awake, break into song. Arise, Barak. That's the person that went down and was chasing Sisera. Arise, Barak. Lead away your captives, son of Avinoam. Then a remnant of nobles marched down. A people of Yahweh marched down to me like warriors. From Ephraim came those rooted in Amalek. Behind you, Benjamin is with your peoples. From Machir, the commanders marched down. From Zebulun, those holding the muster staff. The princes of Yissachar were with Deborah, Yissachar, along with Barak. Into the valley they rushed forth behind him. Among the divisions of Reuven, they made great resolutions in their hearts. But why did you stay at the pens for the sheep, to listen for the shepherd's flute playing for the flocks? Concerning the divisions of Reuven, there were great searchings of heart. Gilead lives beyond the Jordan. Dan, why does he stay by the ships? Asher stayed by the shore of the sea, remaining near its bays. People of Zebulun risked their lives. Naphtali too, on the open heights. Kings came and fought. Yes, the kings of the Canaanite fought at Tanakh. by the waters of Megiddo. But they took no spoil of silver. They fought from heaven the stars in their courses. Yes, they fought against whom? The commander? Sisera. The Kishon River swept them away. The ancient river, the Kishon River. Oh, my soul, marched on with strength. Then the horses' hoofs pounded the ground. Their mighty steeds galloped in full speed. Curse Meroz, said the angel of Yahweh. Curse the people living there with bitter punishment for not coming to help Yahweh against the mighty warriors. Yael, there she is again, will be blessed more than all women. The wife of Hever, the Keni, who are the Keni? Can we remember who the Keni are? That is coming from the lineage of Moshe's father-in-law. Those are those people. Those are the Ethiopians. Okay? It says that Yael will be blessed more than all of the women. The wife of Hever, the Keni, will be blessed more than any woman in the tent. He asked for water. Who asked for water? Sisera asked for water, and she gave him milk. In an elegant bowl, she brought him curds. I don't want to say she lured him in. All right? Look at how it's written. I brought it to you even in an elegant bowl. Here you are, baby. I know you're tired. Take this. It'll calm you down. I came off of a run yesterday. I ran 4 miles yesterday. And some of you will say you are a stone cold fool for doing what you were doing. I ran yesterday at 4:30 in 103-degree weather. I came off of that run. Water was pouring off of me like nobody's business. Do you think I'm reaching for a hot glass of milk? No. No. But had I reached for a hot glass of milk, I probably would have been, I can't move. I can't do anything. My stomach, my second brain is all messed up too. I ain't going anywhere. She's smart. Okay? Let's go back. It says, let's go to 27. Whoa, let's go back up. Let's go to 25. He asked for water, and she gave him milk. In an elegant bowl, she brought him curds. Then she took a tent peg in her left hand and a workman's hammer in her right. With this hammer, she struck Sisera, pierced his skull. Yes, she shattered and crushed his temple. He sank down to her feet. He fell and lay there. He sank at her feet. He fell. Where he sank down, there he fell dead. Sisera's mother looks out the window, peering through the lattice. She wonders, why is the chariot so long in coming? Where's my son? Where is he? Why are the horses so slow to return? The wisest of her ladies answer her, and she repeats it to herself. She knows something's wrong. Of course, they are collecting and dividing the spoil. A girl, 2 girls for every warrior. For Sisera's booty of dyed clothing. That's what we call booty, treasure. Okay? A plunder of colorful embroidered garments. 2 embroidered scarves for every soldier's neck. May all of your enemies perish like this, Yahweh. But may those who love him be like the sun going forth in its glory. At the conclusion of this chapter, and Deborah's conquest with Barak over Yavin's army, the land had rest for 40 years. It's one of the longest times that, at least thus far, the children of Israel have had rest in the land. They had also had rest in the land, I believe, with Untitled for maybe about the same amount of time. I need to go back and double check that, but I believe that's the case. If not, then I stand to be corrected. But I know that there's one other time that they experienced 40 years of peace in the land. Now, chapter 6. We all know, stiff-necked, hard-headed, idiotic. You're so enamored about everybody else. undisciplined empire of Israel. What you think they do at the beginning of chapter number 6? We go right back. This idolatry again. Again. And part of this reason is because they have allowed individuals that they were supposed to kick out, stay with them. The Most High says, I'm going to use these individuals as a test to see whether or not you love me or not. Do you understand what I just got done saying to you? I'm going to say it one more time. I'm going to lead these people in the land to make sure you understand, or at least for you to explain to me whether or not you love me or not. I'm going to say it one more time because you missed it again and you're looking at me crazy. Why am I keep harping on this? Because if you love me, you will do what? You'll keep them. Anybody that's professing to you that they love whom Yahweh can't be sitting over here talking about, well, the commandments are weak and ineffective and have been done away with. Because how I know you love me is that you do them. So you must not love me. So let's be logical about it. So how do you explain that one away? Oh, you can't. It's what I've been told all my life. No research. And that is why you fall short. Chapter 6, at the beginning, we see the oppression of the Midianites on the children, I got to get rid of that, on the dynasty and the empire of Israel. I just did it again. The empire, that's how, see, I'm trying to get out of that myself. And that's good for you to see, okay? Because I don't want to sit up here and profess like I've arrived at anything. I'm doing my best to understand and get all of this minutia of crap off of me as well. You've got at least 30 some odd years, 3 decades of being institutionalized. You know what I mean by institutionalized? That means that you've been born into a way of thinking, and when somebody provides you some other way that provides you truth on a particular matter, because I like truth, because truth don't care about your emotions. Whether or not you happy about truth, truth don't care. Whether or not you sad about it, truth don't care. It is what it is. I'm institutionalized in my mind because that's all I've ever known as I've grown up. And so therefore, when someone brings me something, what am I going to do? I'm going to defend what I already know. What do you mean? Now, as I start, I'm going to let my guard down a little bit as I start getting experiential knowledge for myself. All right? But that's our natural thing to do, is defend what we've already been institutionalized to understand. It's always the proverbial thing. Our minds are in a prison and the door is wide open, but we won't walk out. The empire of Israel, in Yahweh's perspective, starts doing evil. Not in their own perspective, because you can justify yourself all day long, okay? All right? You can get out here on this Shabbat and think that you are observing it. Oh, well, no. What does the text say that you're supposed to be doing? You'll justify it to fit you. So in the perspective of the Most High's perspective, the empire of Israel started to do evil again. They came under oppression from the Midianites for 7 straight years, and they oppressed them hard. Oppressed them so hard that the text says that it drove them into the mountains and caves. Drove them to a point where they couldn't even do any agricultural work. No farming. It barely left them with anything. Said they had no donkeys. They had no oxen. They're living in safe places to avoid the Midianites. Okay? Now, it says that the Midianites camped out in front of this area, pushing them into the mountains. And they were so thick that the text says they were beyond numbering. And this greatly discouraged Hebrew Israel, to the point where the Hebrew Israel, and I underlined this in my notes, we are in verse 6, it says, Israel became very discouraged because Midian and the people of Israel did what? Cried out to Yahweh. I underlined that and made it plain and bold for myself because I want to spend a little bit of time on this crying out issue. Okay? Look at the pattern. We have a time of peace, of tranquility. We get away from the Most High's teaching. The Most High comes in with an oppressor. The oppressor afflicts Hebrew Israel. Hebrew Israel cries out. I want to let you know what crying out means. All right? I'm standing up here with the microphone today. I'm telling you what crying out means. It just doesn't mean that a bunch of y'all get together and y'all say, oh, Most High, come deliver us, please. No, that ain't it. That's part of it. But that ain't it into totality. I went to college and I went to school. I'm going to take a page out of your teacher's book. He said, I went to college too. It ain't what that's all about. It's part of it. I do something egregious to you. I say, I'm never going to do it again. How are you going to believe me? Unless you see me in my actions doing something different. Okay? You just giving me lip service, telling me that, oh, I need a deliverer. We need to be delivered out of this. Okay, that's fine. And we cried out. You're ready because you're doing what? You're doing the mitzvot. You're walking in the ways that I need you to walk, that I know that you're ready for it. I got to believe that just because Hebrew Israel had this lip service, that the Most High sent a rescuer. Okay? You can talk all day long. But until you start walking in the ways of the Most High, he's not going to do anything for you. Period. So look at the pattern. They send an oppressor. They start walking in the ways of the Most High. They cry out to the Most High. The Most High does what? Sends a rescuer to jack up whoever was oppressing Hebrew Israel. That's a point you need to make in there. All right? It is no different than July what? What's today? 16th, 2022 with y'all. Do you understand that? It's the same thing. Where are you at in that picture? All right? Where are we at in the picture? We're in the picture. This is an interesting part that, and I know I'm probably going to get some flack for this, but it's an interesting picture because in that cycle, we're gotten away from the Most High. And we've gotten through this issue of, I shouldn't say gotten through the issue of oppression because we're still being oppressed, okay? But my question to you is, what does Hebrew Israel have to cry out for? Granted, we've said on many podcasts, you're going ahead and you're getting oppressed and all these things are happening to you, but it's not enough for the Hebrew Israel to come together and say, we're going to change. What do you need to cry out for? Is there any unction for you to say, you know what, as a group of people, we need to cry out to the Most High? I would elect and say no. Things have gotten relatively easier, comfortable where you are. Okay? Right? So it's so comfortable, you've gotten to the point where you're saying, well, granted, and that's what's very difficult for here in us in this house, for us to try to get through to Hebrew Israel. It's very easy for us to sell this to you when you're being oppressed, when you're dying in the street, when you have famine, when you have all these types of things that's happening day after day. You can't even live. You can't even eat. You don't have any water. You're being oppressed so bad where now you're saying, you know what? We have no other alternative but to start doing what the Most High had asked us to do so we can go out and cry out. You're not in that position right now. You can say what you want to say to whomever you want to say it to. You can go wherever you want to go. You can do what you want to do. What in the world do we have to cry out for? That's why it's difficult for us now to try to convince people. Okay? I'm comfortable with this Christianity thing. It lets me do whatever I want to do. I can eat whatever I want to eat. It's all been done away with. I'm going to stay over here. This is cute. This is the reason why we're having a difficult time acquiescing to this, because we don't have a reason if we follow the pattern that's here. Verse 7 says, Yahweh, at least the empire of Israel cried out to Yahweh because of Midian, and Yahweh sent a prophet. Now, remember I said that there's different categories? He sent a prophet. Now, I want to let you hear what the prophet is saying. Now, I know some people are going to get in their feelings when I say this. You're going to get straight in your feelings. I want you to pay attention to what the prophet says, and I want you to understand what we've been saying in here. Tell me what has been different. What does he say? Verse 7 through 10, chapter 6 of Shoftim. It says, Yahweh, this is what the prophet says to the empire of Israel. Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel says, I brought you up from Egypt, or Mitzrayim, out of the life of slavery. I've delivered you from the power of the Egyptians and from the power of your oppressors. I drove them out ahead of you and gave you their land. And I said to you, I am. I am. Okay, I'm going to come back to it and then hit you in the teeth. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. You are not to be afraid of the Elohims of the Emirate in whose land you are living, but you paid no attention to what I've said. That is something we have been regurgitating in the history of the Hebrew nation of Hebrews all along in here. We've been trying to bring this out. We've been quoting this all along. Okay? I stopped at this word I am because it hit me like a ton of bricks when I read it. Because we've been sitting there saying, when Moshe went over there, he says, Eye, Asher, Eye, where he says, okay, what should I tell the people? And we've always translated and looked at that like I am. What now that me has a little bit of more significance to me when I look at that. Let me look at you when I say this. I am the one that brought you out of Mitzrayim. I'm the one that transversed you through the desert. I am the one that cracked that rock open and gave you that well. I am the one that delivered you into the land. I am the one that defeated all of your enemies. I am that I am. When you look at everything that has progressed on the children of Israel positively and where they are, I am the one that's doing it. I am that guy, not some other Elohim. So when you go and tell them who sent you, tell them I am sent you. I am the one. Okay? You get it now. I'm the one that did it. Not Baal, not Ashtaroth, not these other ones, not Molech, not any of them. Me. Okay? I am Yahweh, your Elohim. You are not to be afraid of the Elohims of the Emirate or the Christians for your day and age, for your hearing now, in whose land you are living. But you paid no attention to what I said. Now, the Most High gives or grants the empire of Israel a deliverer. And his name is Yerubbaal, otherwise known as Gideon. Gideon. We see the inception of Gideon here and his commission. The angel of Yahweh came and sat under a pistachio tree. And Gideon is off to the side. He's thrashing wheat in a wine press. Okay? He's not in front of an audience preaching. He's not doing something in front of a big group of people trying to testify or anything. He's working. When the Malach, or the angel of the Most High, shows up, and he appears to him and he says, what? You valiant hero, Yahweh is with you. Do you know that about your name? Gideon. You valiant hero, Yahweh is with you. I love Gideon, his eyes are so big when it's over here and point when I talk to him. Yahweh is with you. Gideon says, wait a minute, hold on. Excuse me. Now, granted, looks like a normal person. I want you to understand something here, okay? What are you seeing here? You can have a conversation with an angel and not even know it. Not even know it. You'll be looking at one dead in the face, out of the blue, okay? Says to him, excuse me, sir, but let me ask you a question. If I'm a valiant hero and Yahweh's with me, then why in the world is Yahweh allowing this to happen? We ask that of Yahweh this day and age now. Why is Yahweh allowing these things to happen to me? Okay? Thank you. Why? He shouldn't even have asked this question, because right at the beginning it says, at the top of chapter 6, it says, but the people of Israel did what was evil from Yahweh's perspective. That's why. And that's the problem that Hebrew Israel in exile on July 16, 2022 has today. Because you don't believe that the reason you are in this situation is because of the fact you've gotten away from the mitzvot. You just believe that, oh, okay, this just happens of circumstance. It's just what just happened. No. You're thinking about yourself, and that's the beauty of Christianity. It gets you to think about an individual instead of a community of people. All right? It's all about you. It's not about us. Okay? And that's what the Most High is invested in. His people, not a certain person. Okay? He says, hey, listen, why is this happening? And where are all these miracles that have been happening to my ancestors? We haven't seen any of those. Said, didn't Yahweh bring us up out of Egypt? We did do that miracle. So where is all this? He said, for now, it seems like Yahweh's abandoned us and handed us over to the Midianites. Yahweh did that. Look at what Gideon is saying. He's in himself right now on his current situation. And I love the way the Malach, the angel of Yahweh, answers, because he didn't even answer him. He didn't even answer his question. He says, listen, this is what's up, my guy. Just go in strength. I know you got questions. Go in strength and save Israel from these Midianites. Haven't I sent you? And then Gideon answers, says, forgive me. But what am I to save Israel? Why, I'm the poorest of Manasseh. Okay? And I'm going to tell you, if Gideon is the poorest of Manasseh, then when some other verses that are coming up, we're going to see something here in a second. He says, I'm the poorest, or we're the poorest family of Manasseh. And I'm the youngest person in my family. I'm over here looking at Gideon because he's the youngest person in his family. So when I read this, I said, okay, if I look at all of the patterns that happen within the confines of these rescuers being brought, I always have to, again, my foundation has to be mitzvot. How does this tie into a mitzvot? These people are talking and they have an understanding because it's their lifestyle already. We don't live like that. So is he applying a Torah mitzvot here when he's selecting this particular individual? Does this tell me how old Gideon is when he gets commissioned? Are there any mitzvot that talk about, because again, let's think about it. All of these people that are rescuers are military people. They're going into war, right? Barak goes into war, right? Ehud goes into war. Antiel goes into war. All these people that have been commissioned are warriors. Are there any mitzvot that deal with war? Right. There's some of them. You have to be, that's what I'm looking for, your age when you get called to go. Now, there's two references that I want to bring up that kind of try to establish this. This is me talking. I'm trying to establish this point because the text is silent. Let's be clear. The text is silent on how old Gideon is. He just says he's the youngest person. We can all agree to that. Now, this is me talking, trying to establish how old Gideon is. Now, you won't get that in the 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and 11 o'clock service across the street. You won't get your pastor saying, this is me talking. All right? He won't make that distinction. But anyway, let's go to Shemot chapter 30. Let's read a mitzvot. Chapter 30, verse 14, it says, everyone over 20 years of age who is subject to the census is to give an offering to Yahweh. The rich is not to give more or the poor less than half a shekel when giving Yahweh's offering to atone for lives. So there's an age limit here for those that are going to be subject to the census. This is going to come up again in 2 Chronicles chapter number 25, verse 5, when it says, Amat Yahu assembled Yehuda together and put them in order by clans under the captains thousands and captains of hundreds, all Yehuda and Benjamin. He registered everyone who was what? 20 years and older, and found that there were 300,000 selected troops able to go to war, capable of using spears and shields. So I'm going to make an assumption that Gideon was either 19 turning 20 or he was 20 years old. He's getting ready to go into battle. I'm trying to establish that with some other text in there about being 20 years old to be able to go into the service of doing military for the Most High. Okay. Now, verse 16, back to chapter number 6. It says, Yahweh said to him, because I will be with you, you will strike down Midian easily, as if they were just one man. And this is what Gideon replies, and he says, if indeed you favor me, would you mind giving me what? A sign. Hebrew Israel is always seeking signs, okay? Signs that you really are that you are really talking with me. Please don't leave me. Wait a second, I'm going to go get something. Now, he said that he was the poorest of all of Manasseh. What's he go and get? He goes and gets some flour. He goes actually go and gets a kid, a goat, all right? Now, what did I say earlier? I said the Midianites oppressed them so bad that they didn't have any oxen, they didn't have any donkeys, they didn't have any sheep, they didn't have anything to farm with. So where did he get this thing from? All right? This was hidden somewhere, all right? Because they have to be really sneaky because these Midianites are all over top of these ancestors. He says, wait, I'll come back. So what did Gideon do? He goes and he gets this goat, young goat, and he cooks it with matzot. He puts the goat the meat in a basket. He puts the broth in a bowl, and he brings the matzot to this person that he thinks he believes that this is Elohim now. So he's saying, let me go get you something to eat. And the angel of Elohim said to him, take this meat and matzot and lay it on this rock and pour out the broth. And Gideon did so. Then the angel of Yahweh reached out with a stick. That's his key. It says, then the angel of Yahweh reached out with a stick he was holding and touched the meat and matzot, and a fire shot up out of the rock and burned up the meat and matzot. Where have we seen that before? Your head teacher has been talking about it for the last couple of weeks, I think. He's been talking about when we go through, and again, we got to tie these back into these mitzvot. When this is how you guys know if you're connected to these mitzvot, they'll just start popping out all over the place when you start reading text. Okay? What he does is this is a reenactment of what happens when you bring a offering, like a peace offering, with either a grain offering or a offering with a kid. There's some things that the Kohanim Hagadol is supposed to do with it. And he says, let's look at this. It says that Yahweh, the angel of Yahweh, reached out with the stick he was holding, touched the meat and matzah, and a fire shot up out of the rock and burned up the meat and the matzah. Let's go to Vayikra, chapter number 2, verses 1 through 10. And it says, anyone who brings a grain offering, that's what he has. Okay? Anyone who brings a grain offering, he's making an offering to Yahweh here, okay? Is to make an offering of fine flour. He's to pour olive oil on it and put frankincense on it. He's to bring the sons of Aharon, the Kohanim, the Kohen, and take a handful of the flour from it, together with the olive oil and all of the frankincense, and make a reminder portion to go up in smoke on an altar as offering made by what? Fire. A fragrant aroma to Yahweh. But the rest of the grain offering will belong to Aharon and his sons. It is especially a set apart of the offerings for Yahweh made by fire. Verse 4, when you bring a grain offering, which has been baked in an oven, if it consists of either leavened cakes or made of fine mixed flour, or with olive oil or matzah spread on olive oil, if your offering is a grain offering cooked on a griddle, it is to consist of unleavened fine flour mixed with olive oil. When you break it into pieces and pour the olive oil on it, it is a grain offering. If your offering is a grain offering cooked in a pot, it is consists of fine flour and olive oil. Concluding with 8 through 10. It says, you are to bring the grain offering prepared in any of these ways to Yahweh. It is to be presented to the Kohanim. He is to bring it to the altar. That's what Gideon is doing. He's taking this grain offering, he's bringing it to who he believes is the Malach of Yahweh, okay? What does he tell him to do? He says, pour out that broth, put the grain offering and that meat on the rock. So back here, it says, you are to bring a grain offering prepared in any of these ways to Yahweh. It is to be presented to the Kohanim, and the Kohen, and is to bring it to the altar. The Kohen is to remove the remainder portion of the grain offering and make it go up in smoke on the altar as an offering made by fire, a fragrant aroma to Yahweh, but the rest of the grain offering will belong to Aharon and his sons. It is especially set apart of the offerings for Yahweh made by fire. So you have the type and shadow of what's going on here. It's proving to him that who he is through the enactment of the mitzvot. We see that here, okay? We see that. Let's go on to Vayikra chapter 3, verse 1 through 5, where it says, if the offering is a sacrifice of peace offerings, then if he offers it to Yahweh, an animal from the herd, that's what he went and got. He got a goat, right? Then no matter whether it is a male or female, it must be without defect. He is to lay his hands on the head of the offering and slaughter it in the entrance of the tent of meeting. And the sons of Aharon, the Kohanim, are to splash the blood on the sides of the altar. He is to present the sacrifice of peace offerings as an offering made by what? Fire. Thank you. Yahweh is to consist of the fat covering the inner coverings of the inner organs and the fat above the inner organs, the 2 kidneys, the fat near the flanks, and the covering of the liver, which will remove with the kidneys. Aharon and his sons will make it go up into what? Smoke on the altar on top of the burnt offering, which is on the wood fire, in an offering made by fire, a fragrant aroma to Yahweh. Again, I'm trying to make a correlation to say, why is Gideon doing this? Why did he run off and go and get some grain and cook a kid? He's like, hey, I want you to have this. So what does the angel do? He puts it on the rock and makes it go up in smoke, fire, all the way up. All right, let's jump back into this. Verse number 25, chapter 6. It says, that very night, Yahweh said to Gideon, he said, take your father's bull. Listen to exactly what I'm getting ready to tell you. There's something that I didn't see here that, again, I'm going to get on my own and say, okay? Listen, take your father's bull and the other bull. Take your father's bull and the other bull. How many bulls do we have? 2. Very good. The 7-year-old. So one of the bulls is 7 years old. The second one says, destroy the altar to Baal that belongs to your father. Cut down the sacred poles next to it and build a proper altar to Yahweh, your Elohim, on top of the strong point. So his father is one of these folks that has gotten into Christianity. Oh, I'm sorry. He's gotten into the worship of Baal. Okay? All right? Inside the house that Yahweh is gone to and said, Gideon, I'm going to use you. He already knows that his father has some issues going on. He said, but I want you to take and cut down your father's sacred Baal pole, and then take the second bull and offer it as a burnt offering using the wood of the sacred pole you cut down. Tell me what these, okay, maybe I'm just a little stupid, but there's two bulls there, all right? He says, in 26, it says, build a proper altar to Yahweh, your Elohim, on top of this strong point. Then take the second bull and offer it as a burnt offering using the wood of the second pole you cut down. Maybe you might pick up on it quicker than I am. What are the two bulls doing? Ah, you got it right off the bat. I didn't even see that when I first read it. Because it says, take your father's bull. Take the second bull, who's 7 years old. Go and destroy. Go wreak havoc. Thank you. Tear it down. Take the second bull and offer it as a burnt offering. I didn't see what was going on with the first bull. When I'm in construction. When I go out and I demolish a building, do you think I'm going to do it with a hammer and nails? If I told you I'm going to take this building, I'm going to show up with just a crowbar and a hammer and a bunch of labor, what am I going to do it with? I'm going to get heavy equipment to do it with. Take your father's bull. Use it to tear down these idols. Then take the second bull. Offer it as a sacrifice. Okay? Text is not emphatic in saying that. I'm trying to fill in the gaps there, but it makes logical sense as to why the first bull was brought. Because we got to tear this thing down. Okay? So it says Gideon took 10 of his servants. Now again, he says that he's the poorest of Israel. In Manasseh, not in Israel, but of Manasseh. And he has 10 servants. Now you're doing pretty good for being poor. Okay? Listen, if Gideon was here today, he'd be like, man, I'm poor, but y'all don't have any servants. Where are y'all help at? Okay? So you're doing pretty good for yourself if you got 10 servants. Because in 27, it says, Gideon took 10 of his servants. Not his daddy's, not his mama's, his servants. And did what Yahweh told him to do. And he did it at night because he didn't want anybody to hear what he was doing. Okay? Now, as we get on towards the end of this chapter, this is interesting here because what happens is the very next day, the men wake up and they see that the altar has been torn down. They do some investigation and they say, who in the world could have done this? They come up and they say, it only could have been Gideon. Get his natural out here because you tore our idol down and we want to kill you. They go to his father and they say this. And his dad is like, wait. I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to give you some insight. When black people start clapping, run, okay? Especially when we're talking. When I tell you to get out. All right. Bring Gideon out here right now. Get him out here. His father's like, wait a minute, folks. Let me ask you a question, okay? You are really enamored about killing my son. But I want you to know something. Let me tell you how fickle his father was in following these other idols, because his father says something very, very, very interesting here. Let's read what his father says. He says, bring out 30, verse 30. Bring out your son. The men of the city demanded of Joash so that he, Gideon, may die, because he destroyed the altar of Baal and cut down the sacred pole next to it. But Joash said, his father said, to all those crowding around him, you're defending Baal? Are you? Really? That's what we're doing now. Is it your job to save him? Oh, anyone who defends Baal will be put to death before morning. That's what Gideon's father said. Even though he was following after Baal, he said, you know what? Forget all this. Blood is thicker than water. And I at least know I got good enough sense to know that that's a piece of wood or stone over there. You want to take my son away from me for that purpose alone? Come on. Anybody that's going to come after my son, you're going to have to come through me first. And furthermore, let's look at this. Let's look at the stupidity of what you're talking about. If you believe that Baal is Elohim, then let Baal defend himself. Okay? Let's change this narrative a little bit. Okay? Let's change the narrative a little bit. Instead of putting Baal in there, let's put your Yeshua in there. Okay? Let's just do that. Yeshua, if he is Elohim, he doesn't need you to defend him. Because anytime that you read in text with the Most High, for you even thinking about that you're going to come against the Most High or his people, he'll open up that ground and put you in it. Okay? Think about that. Your Elohim doesn't act like this. Okay? If your Yeshua be who he says he is, then why in the world do you allow him to get beat beyond recognition? He just could have wiped them all out. And I know you got to stand and answer that you're going to sit up there because he had to die for the world and sin. But that's not what the Most High has ordained in text. You don't read that anywhere. That's not part of the plan. Let me tell you something. A bunch of you in here are sports fanatics. I know that you are. I know that you're sports fanatics. And you've played on teams, either professional teams or semi-professional teams, or you've even played on the JV squad. I don't care where you've played. But I'm going to tell you what, one thing that your coach is not going to allow you to do is go out there and start running plays that we have in practice or not, or even in our playbook. Okay? So when we get over here to this New Testament or whatever you want to call it, and we run in a different playbook, and then you're wondering why we're losing the game. Because our playbook is jacked up. We running plays that the other team has. What is that all about? I mean, literally, we're getting in a nickel defense or getting in a dime defense, and they're setting up an I formation. Every time they see us set up in a nickel and a dime defense, they're going to be running it up the gut on y'all. Now, I got to explain this because they... Listen, everybody is on my case in here. If you guys were in here, in this place right now, they'll light me up because they know for certain that I am not a sports fanatic. I am not a sports guy. As far as I know, Bernie Kosar still plays for the Cleveland Browns. Joe Montana is coming out next week, and so with Ronnie Lott. So knowing these defensive schemes, that's why everybody is kind of, what in the world? Listen, I'm going to tell you my secret. Back in the day, I used to play a lot of John Madden football on so that's where I'm getting it from. And I know if I see you and you don't see that audible coming, Jack. So just understand that. But again, if that be an Elohim, let that Elohim defend himself. You don't have to do anything. Okay? So, after this is being said, everybody just, I guess that makes sense. And they gave up the fight. There's nothing else that goes on in Texas that they did anything else. Okay? Other than saying that this is when Gideon gets his name changed to Yerub-Baal, which means what? Let's read it in the text. What does it say? It says, after all, somebody destroyed his altar. Therefore, on that day, Gideon was given the name Yerub-Baal. Let Baal defend. Because they said, let Baal defend himself against him, since he destroyed the altar. If you want to come against anybody, come against Gideon. And I'll bet you don't do it. Won't happen. Verse 33 as we finish up this chapter. We're going to go to verse 39. So what we have here is the Midianites. They collectively come with a confederation with the kingdoms of Amalek and some other kingdoms from the east that joined forces against them, and they crossed over the Jordan. The Spirit of Yahweh came on to Gideon, and he sounded the shofar. And his kinsmen rallied behind him. He sent out messages to Asher and Manasseh and Naphtali to join the fight. And this is where we see the two confirmations from Gideon. It's so straightforward. There's really nothing to kind of expound upon here. But Gideon says, okay, now that I've seen you turn the offering that goes up into smoke, that goes up into a fragrant aroma, up into Hashemayim, I'm still, let's do one more thing. I just want to be extra sure, okay? So he asked him, he said, let's go to verse 36. In verse 36, he says this. He says, Gideon says to Elohim, if you are going to save Israel through me, as you said you would, then hear. I will lay a wool fleece on the threshing floor. If there is dew on the fleece only, while the ground stays dry, I will be convinced that you will save Israel through me, as you said. And in verse 38, it says it happened when he got up early in the morning. What happened? It says press the fleece together and wrung out dew from out of it, a bowl full of water. But yet, what was dry? The ground stayed dry. He follows it up again and he says, no, I got one more for you. Let's do the reverse of that. Okay? So if you really want me to do this, I'm going to be extra triple check and make sure this is what you want me to do. Let's do the reverse of what we just did. I'm going to lay the fleece on the ground. I want all the water to be on the fleece, and I want the ground to be dry in the morning. So let's read it. It says, don't be angry with me because I'm asking one more thing. Let me make one more test. Please, this time, let it be dry only on the fleece. Or excuse me, so I had that backwards when I explained it to you. I apologize. It says, this time, let it be dry only on the fleece with the dew all over the ground. And that is what Yahweh, the Elohim of the Empire of Israel, did that night. It was dry on the fleece, even though there was dew all over the ground. That, my dear friends, wraps up chapter number 6 of 5 and 6 of Shoftim. So, again, as we come to some type of conclusion and closure, what did I do here? Oh, I didn't push it. In conclosure on this, again, we're continuing to see as we transverse through the book of Shoftim, the same pattern that's happening over and over and over again with the children, with the empire, dynasty of Israel. I'm going to just stay with me, y'all. I haven't got there yet. I'm coming along with you, okay? They're in this pattern. They continue to relapse. They call out for a deliverer. And every inch of the way, again, as we try to transverse through this, I'm going to try to draw out these mitzvot, to try to pull out what's there because it's a part of their culture that's already, so we can see that even though they are oppressed and they are exiled somewhat from the land, they are still functioning or still know about the mitzvot of the Most High. They're not gotten that far removed from it, okay? They're unlike us today, where I said poignantly earlier that it's going to be very difficult to get Hebrew Israel to turn, because there has to be something in place to make you turn. Otherwise, you're just going to say, well, we're comfortable with where we are. If you read the book of Divrarim, you will understand that probably at some particular point in time in the near future, not saying the near future, but sometime in the future, the Most High is going to have these things happen to Hebrew Israel. And that'll probably be the point where people are going to actually make that turn to get back and cry out to the Most High. So hopefully, which I think you did, you may have gotten something out of this today, a new perspective on Gideon, and maybe a little bit more insight on the dynasty of Israel and how it operates, continuing to edify and encourage all of you that are viewing by way of the stream and the people that are here to follow the mitzvot. The Most High, that's our gateway to getting back to being in right standing and actually matriculating back into bigger and better things. So we will actually be the what? The head and not the tail. We don't want to be the tail because it doesn't smell good being behind the tail. All right? Some of y'all got that. I want to admonish everyone here and bless you with the Arianic benediction. But before I do that, continue to please. Again, we have our website. If you feel so inclined to help and support the ministry, we have, I don't know, again, I'm going to wag our own tail here, but we've got books. We've got that's being written, that has already been written in defense of the Messiah. We have another book that's coming out called What About My People? Look out for that. That's going to be a barn burner when you actually read that one. We've got our music that's out on iTunes, Spotify, all those kinds of things. We've got, even if you don't know how to read music, give it to somebody who does know how to read music and put it in that 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock service. So at least they can start hearing it. We've got those types of material for you. We've got the Podbean. Matter of fact, I want to also direct you to the Podbean Premium channel where some of the videos of the podcast are there. So you can watch the videos of it. And there'll be more to come with that. So the message we're trying to do is get out there and to reach as many Hebrews as we can. We are so desperately trying to till the ground, to get all the minutia and crap off of you so you can start understanding and acquiesce into a lifestyle that's governed by the mitzvot. But we got to do a lot of groundwork first, okay? And that's what we're doing through our media. So support those, Facebook, Twitter, all of those. Send a plug out to all of those social media so you can support us there. All right. With that being said, I want to bless everyone here with the Arianic benediction that is in Bad Midbar, chapter 6, verses 24 through 26. And it says, Yivarekaka, Yahweh v'yishmareka, Yael, Yahweh panav eleka v'huneka, Yisa, Yahweh panav eleka v'yasam laka shalom. It simply says in English, may Yahweh bless you and keep you. The I am. The I am. The one that is, I did that. I delivered you. I'm the one that made the heavens and the stars and the sun, your body, the breath that's inside you. My mitzvot, I am the one that did that. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. May Yahweh make his face to shine upon you and show you his favor. May Yahweh lift up his face towards you and give you what? Shalom. And with that, I say shalom to all of you. Shabbat shalom. Thank you.